Have you ever sensed that someone didn't like you, even if they wore a smile? Stoicism teaches us that our peace of mind often depends on how well we discern the true nature of others. But what about those who hide their true feelings behind politeness, compliments, and even laughter? Most of us would rather ignore subtle signs than face the truth about someone's dislike. Yet, there's power in seeing things as they are. Imagine how much time, energy, and heartache could be saved if you recognized when someone secretly harbors resentment. Consider this. What if the laughter, praise, and support you thought was genuine were thin veils for disdain? Many people struggle with hidden animosity, and some are masters of disguise. They may keep you close, not because they value you, but because they enjoy the quiet dominance of undermining you. By the end of this journey, you'll recognize the subtle cues and hidden behaviors that reveal someone's hidden disdain. Stay with me through each sign, and by the last one, you might see certain friends in a new light. Let's dive in, beginning with a seemingly innocent but dangerous behavior. 1. Disappearing when you need support. The strength of a relationship is tested most during tough times. The Stoics believed that true friendship is one of life's great gifts, a bond forged through trust and support. So, what does it say about someone when they vanish the moment you need them the most? Meet Alex, a successful designer known for his quiet confidence and resilience. Over the years, he'd cultivated a tight-knit group of friends, or so he thought. When his mother fell ill, Alex's world turned upside down. In his most vulnerable moments, he turned to those he'd always supported, but instead of solidarity, he was met with silence. One friend, Sarah, who Alex had consoled through countless challenges, suddenly seemed too busy to take his calls. Another friend, Mark, shrugged off the situation, saying, "We've all got our problems, Alex." Alex couldn't help but wonder, was he asking too much? Was his pain somehow too inconvenient for them? Stoicism teaches us to face reality with courage, to see things as they are rather than how we wish them to be. This is the painful truth. When someone consistently avoids supporting you in hard times, it's a sign they're not truly invested in your well-being. Think about it. How many people in your life are only present for the good times, the laughter, the celebrations, and the victories? When you hit a low point, do they become scarce, retreating into vague excuses and "I'm just so busy" statements? When Alex reached out to his friend group, the silence felt like a betrayal. People he'd laughed with, confided in, and stood beside through their own challenges now had no time for him. At first, he brushed it off, thinking they were genuinely busy. But as the silence continued, he faced the uncomfortable reality that he was not a priority for them. There's a saying in Stoicism that true friends are revealed in adversity. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we must be grateful for those who stand by us when life becomes difficult, for they are the ones who value us beyond what we can offer them. It became clear to Alex that Sarah and Mark valued him only in good times, treating him as someone to celebrate with, but not to lean on. While hurtful, this realization gave him a newfound clarity. His energy was precious and deserved to be shared with those who genuinely valued him. If you've been in Alex's shoes, you know how devastating it can be to realize that certain friends were only in your life for their benefit. In these moments, remember that the fault does not lie in you. Recognize the behavior for what it is, a reflection of their priorities, not a statement about your worth. Stoicism reminds us to control our response to situations, not the actions of others. So, what can you do if someone disappears when you need them? As Alex learned, you confront the truth. You draw boundaries, choosing to invest in relationships that uplift rather than drain you. Don't let the silence make you feel lesser. Instead, let it empower you to seek genuine, steadfast connections. 2. They avoid physical contact with you. Physical contact, even in small ways, is a natural expression of warmth and trust. In Stoicism, relationships are built not just on words, but on a deep, quiet respect for each other's presence. Yet, what happens when someone you consider close suddenly avoids even the simplest gestures, like a pat on the back or a handshake? Meet Mia, an empathetic and open-minded writer who loves connecting with others. Mia was part of a social circle that frequently met for dinners, outings, and creative discussions. In the group, she often found herself sitting next to Jake, a longtime friend known for his easygoing nature. At first, their exchanges were lively, and Jake was warm and friendly. But over time, Mia noticed subtle changes. Jake's smiles became reserved, his glances brief, and, most noticeably, he started sitting farther from her. During group photos, he would stand at the edge, keeping a noticeable gap between them. Casual gestures, like handshakes or even high fives, were noticeably absent. Was Mia overthinking it? She wondered if Jake had simply become less comfortable with physical contact. But then she noticed Jake was still affectionate and physically warm with everyone else. A hug here, a pat on the back there, just never with her. Have you ever been in Mia's position, wondering why someone seems to avoid physical touch with you while being completely comfortable with others? Stoicism encourages us to read between the lines, to observe without judgment, yet remain realistic. A lack of contact may seem trivial, but it's often a subtle message, a physical withdrawal that mirrors an emotional distance. People who avoid touch may not feel connected to us or may even harbor resentment they can't fully express. Mia decided to confront the situation head-on, knowing that remaining silent only added to her discomfort. In a quiet moment, she asked Jake if something was bothering him. She opened the conversation with kindness, giving him a chance to share any grievances. Surprisingly, he admitted that he'd been feeling overshadowed by her success in their writing group, seeing her as more popular among their friends. His resentment had grown quietly, manifesting as subtle avoidance rather than an honest conversation. For Mia, this was a difficult truth to hear. Stoicism teaches that we cannot control others' perceptions of us, only our response. Jake's distance had been about his own insecurities, not about anything she had done intentionally. This realization gave Mia a sense of relief, as she no longer had to wonder why he was pulling away. Instead, she could understand it and choose how to proceed. Have you ever noticed someone pull back, their warmth replaced by a cool distance? In these moments, ask yourself, is there an unspoken tension? And even if the reason remains unknown, remember that their avoidance may be a reflection of their inner conflicts rather than your actions. Through Stoic principles, Mia decided to remain friendly with Jake while not expecting the same level of warmth as before. Her energy, she realized, was better spent on friends who were genuinely comfortable in her presence, who celebrated her growth without feeling threatened by it. Sometimes, people's discomfort with physical contact is a sign that their connection with us has shifted. Rather than forcing an explanation, Mia embraced a new reality. Her worth and warmth remained unchanged, regardless of Jake's behavior. If you find yourself in a similar situation, consider what Stoicism advises. Seek friends who value you without reservation. And remember, when someone avoids physical closeness, it may be a sign to recalibrate your expectations. As we continue exploring the hidden signs of concealed resentment, keep asking yourself, who genuinely values your presence? Let's move on to the next sign that someone might be harboring hidden hostility. 3. They subtly exclude you from plans. Nothing stings quite like realizing you've been excluded, especially by people you consider close. Stoicism teaches us that much of our pain comes not from external actions, but from our attachment to them. Yet exclusion is a unique pain, as it hints at an intentional rejection, an unspoken message that you're not truly part of the group. Let's follow the story of Liam, a talented musician who had spent years building connections in his city's music scene. For a long time, He felt like he had a solid group of friends who appreciated his creativity and drive. But as time went on, Liam noticed a troubling trend. His friends would forget to mention certain events or gatherings. He'd often find out about parties, weekend trips, or casual meetups after they happened, usually through social media photos or second-hand stories. At first, he convinced himself it was an innocent oversight. They must have thought he was busy with his music, or perhaps the event had been planned last minute. But this pattern of forgetfulness became more frequent. Liam began to feel the growing weight of isolation, wondering why his so-called friends left him out. As Stoicism reminds us, assumptions can be dangerous. However, consistent patterns reveal the truth, and Liam's suspicions were becoming hard to ignore. Why would friends exclude someone they supposedly valued? Often, exclusion is a subtle way of pushing someone out, a passive method of showing disinterest without having to confront the person directly. Liam realized his friends weren't being thoughtless. They were making a choice. They preferred a group dynamic without him, even if they weren't willing to say so openly. One day, a mutual friend shared pictures from a gathering Liam would have loved to attend. Everyone was there. Everyone except him. Stoicism advises us to seek answers within before looking outside. So Liam asked himself, "Am I missing something here? Have I done something to cause this distance?" Yet, he couldn't recall any conflicts or tensions with the group. So, he decided to address the issue rather than stay in the shadows of assumption. At the next gathering he attended, he took a calm, honest approach. Pulling aside his friend Thomas, he asked directly, "I've noticed I've been left out of a few gatherings recently. Was there a reason behind that?" Thomas looked uncomfortable, but eventually admitted that some people in the group felt Liam's focus on his music made him hard to relate to and too intense for their liking. Liam felt the sting of rejection, but also a sense of clarity. Stoicism teaches that people's perceptions of us often reveal more about them than about ourselves. His friends' discomfort with his passion said more about their values than it did about his. While it was disappointing, it freed him from wondering and allowed him to accept that this group no longer valued him in the way he once thought. So, what should you do if you're experiencing subtle exclusion? Take it as a signal, not a sentence. Understand that if people repeatedly forget you, they may no longer value your presence in the same way. Rather than clinging to those who don't prioritize you, Stoicism would advise us to seek out people who celebrate our presence, who make sure we're included, not because they have to, but because they want to. Ask yourself, are there friends in your life who frequently forget you? If so, accept it as it is and choose to invest your time in relationships that reciprocate your value. Sometimes, the act of letting go is itself a powerful practice of Stoicism, freeing you from the invisible weight of unrequited bonds. As we journey forward, let's uncover the next subtle sign that someone may be hiding their true feelings about you. 4. They joke about your flaws. There's a saying that, in jest, there is often truth. Stoicism encourages us to be mindful of words, for they can build up or break down. Jokes may seem harmless on the surface, but when someone repeatedly makes jokes at your expense, it's often a sign of something deeper, a quiet form of hostility hiding behind a smile. Meet Sophia, a bright and ambitious architect with a creative eye. Sophia had a colleague, Ben, who was known for his sharp sense of humor. At first, she enjoyed his witty comments and thought of him as an ally in the office. But over time, she began to notice a pattern in Ben's jokes. Whenever they were in a group setting, he'd find a way to make her quirks the punchline. Her unique fashion sense, her intense dedication to work, or her occasional tendency to stay late. All were fair game in Ben's humor. One afternoon during a meeting, Ben remarked with a laugh, "Sophia's probably already redesigned the whole office in her head by now." Everyone chuckled, including Sophia, trying to brush it off as friendly banter. But after hearing similar comments over and over, she began to wonder, was he really just joking? Or was there something more to it? When is a joke not just a joke? Stoicism teaches us to be vigilant in the face of disrespect, especially when it's wrapped in humor. Ben's repeated digs began to wear on Sophia's confidence, and she found herself second-guessing her actions. The Stoics believed that words could be weapons, and when wielded consistently as jokes, they have a way of chipping away at one's self-worth. For Sophia, the laughter masked a growing discomfort, a feeling that perhaps Ben didn't respect her as much as he pretended. One day, Sophia decided to trust her instincts. She approached Ben privately and with a calm but firm tone said, "I notice you often make jokes about me in meetings. I'm curious, do you think there's a reason for that?" Ben was caught off guard, fumbling to explain it away as harmless fun, but Sophia held her ground. She didn't demand an apology. Instead, she made it clear that she valued mutual respect in their interactions. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control others' words, but we can control our response to them. By calmly addressing Ben, Sophia reclaimed her dignity without losing her composure. She knew that if he respected her, he'd change his behavior, and if he didn't, she had gained insight into his true character. Her courage in confronting him shifted their dynamic. Ben's jokes about her dwindled, and her confidence returned, no longer undermined by his words. Have you experienced this before? A friend or colleague whose jokes always seem to target your quirks, your work, or your personality? Stoicism reminds us not to tolerate disrespect, even if it's disguised as humor. You have every right to set boundaries when someone's words overstep. Consider this. If someone consistently jokes about your flaws, are they lifting you up or holding you down? True friends don't need to demean you to feel good about themselves. They celebrate your strengths and help you work through your weaknesses without reducing you to a punchline. If humor in your relationships becomes an excuse for subtle cruelty, remember Sophia's example. Stand up for your worth, because in doing so, you reinforce the respect you deserve. Let's move on to the next hidden sign of concealed hostility that you might have overlooked. 5. They give compliments that sting. A compliment should make you feel valued, appreciated, and recognized. Yet, some compliments feel oddly uncomfortable, as if there's a hidden message beneath the words. Stoicism teaches us to discern the true intentions behind others' actions, and backhanded compliments are often veiled attempts to undermine rather than uplift. Consider Daniel, an entrepreneur who had recently launched his own business. Daniel was passionate about his work, spending countless hours developing his brand and striving to make his mark in the industry. Among his circle was Emily, an old friend from college who had been supportive, at least on the surface. Whenever Daniel shared news of his progress, Emily was quick to compliment him, but her words often carried an odd twist. "Wow, Daniel," she'd say with a smile. "I didn't think you had it in you to get something like this off the ground. That's actually impressive for someone like you." The words seemed like praise, but there was an uncomfortable aftertaste. For someone like you? What did she mean by that? Was there some implication that she doubted him all along? These backhanded compliments began to weigh on Daniel. On one hand, he was grateful for the acknowledgement, but on the other, he couldn't shake the feeling that Emily's remarks were undermining his success. Stoicism encourages us to focus on our inner strength rather than external validation, yet backhanded compliments can subtly erode confidence. Daniel began to wonder if Emily's words reflected her own insecurities, or perhaps a quiet discomfort with his success. Finally, he decided to address it. The next time she said, "I'm surprised you've made it this far in such a competitive field," he replied with a calm smile. "Thank you, Emily. But I'm curious. Why would that surprise you?" Caught off guard, she stammered, trying to justify her words. By questioning her intentions gently, Daniel gave her the opportunity to reflect on the impact of her words. Stoicism teaches us that it's not the opinion of others that defines our worth, but rather our own perspective. By calmly confronting Emily, Daniel freed himself from the subtle sting of her compliments, regaining control over his narrative. He no longer needed to question whether her praise was genuine. He could simply acknowledge it, detached from any hidden negativity. And have you ever received a compliment that left you feeling small rather than uplifted? These compliments often reveal more about the giver than about you. Backhanded praise is a quiet way for people to assert dominance or soothe their insecurities, disguised as kindness. If you find yourself receiving compliments that sting, consider asking, "What do you mean by that?" as Daniel did. By questioning the intent, you place the responsibility back on the other person to clarify or reconsider their words. Ask yourself, are there people in your life whose compliments feel more like critiques? Do their words build you up, or do they leave you doubting your own abilities? A true friend will celebrate your achievements without inserting doubt, recognizing that your success is not a threat to their own. With each interaction, keep in mind that Stoicism calls for boundaries when others attempt to belittle us under the guise of kindness. Your worth is not determined by someone else's thinly veiled judgments. Stand tall, as Daniel did, knowing that you alone define your value. As we continue, let's uncover another hidden sign that may reveal someone's true feelings about you. 6. They're busy only when it comes to you. Time is one of the most valuable gifts we can give to someone. When someone constantly claims to be too busy to spend time with you, yet manages to make time for others, it's often a clear sign of where you truly stand in their life. In Stoicism, we learn the importance of investing our energy wisely and discerning who truly values our presence. Meet Rachel, a compassionate teacher who cherished her friendships deeply. Rachel had been friends with Claire since college, and they had shared many important life moments together. But lately, Claire always seemed too busy whenever Rachel suggested meeting up. At first, Rachel didn't think much of it. After all, life was hectic for everyone. Claire would say things like, "I'd love to, but work is just insane right now," or "Maybe next month, things should calm down then." Rachel respected her friend's busy schedule and waited for things to change. Yet, when Rachel checked social media, she couldn't help but notice photos of Claire out with other friends, going to events and attending gatherings. Time after time, Rachel was left wondering, why does she always have time for others but never for me? This realization was painful, yet it led Rachel to reflect on Stoic teachings, particularly on how people prioritize what and who truly matter to them. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we must focus on what we can control and accept reality with grace. Rachel couldn't control Claire's choices, but she could choose how to interpret them. Claire's constant busyness wasn't about a packed schedule. It was a polite way of saying she no longer prioritized their friendship. Instead of waiting for Claire to make time for her, Rachel took a step back to protect her energy. She stopped reaching out, allowing Claire to come to her if she genuinely valued the friendship. And as Rachel distanced herself, she realized that her worth did not depend on someone else's time or attention. In the quiet space she created, Rachel found peace, reconnecting with friends who genuinely cared. Have you ever felt like Rachel, always accommodating someone's busy schedule, only to realize they never prioritize you? Stoicism teaches us that it's our perception that causes suffering, not the situation itself. When we detach from the expectation that someone should value us equally, we free ourselves from the disappointment of unreciprocated friendships. If someone is consistently too busy for you, ask yourself, are they truly swamped, or are they simply choosing to prioritize others? People make time for what matters, and constant excuses often reveal a lack of investment in the relationship. Rather than feeling resentful, take a Stoic approach, acknowledge the reality, and focus on relationships that genuinely bring value to your life. As Rachel discovered, stepping back can bring clarity and even strengthen your sense of self-worth. Don't chase after friendships that don't reciprocate your efforts. Let go of the need for someone's time if they're unwilling to share it, and redirect that energy toward those who truly value your presence. With that wisdom in mind, let's look at one final and perhaps the most damaging sign that someone may harbor hidden animosity. 7. They gossip about you behind your back. Trust is the foundation of any meaningful relationship, and gossip is the silent destroyer of that foundation. When someone you consider a friend speaks poorly of you behind your back, they're revealing a level of disrespect that's hard to overlook. Stoicism teaches us the value of integrity and transparency, urging us to surround ourselves with those who honor our trust rather than betray it in whispers. Let's meet Oliver, a thoughtful and kind-hearted software developer who always made an effort to support his friends. He was close with a colleague named Chris, whom he trusted deeply. Oliver often shared his ideas, goals, and even personal struggles with Chris, confident that these conversations would stay private. They'd shared many late nights over coffee, venting about work and encouraging each other through difficult times. One day, Oliver overheard a conversation in the office break room. He couldn't believe his ears. Chris was sharing details of a personal challenge Oliver had confided to him, adding his own embellishments and judgments. Shocked and hurt, Oliver confronted Chris, asking him why he had chosen to gossip rather than offer support. Chris brushed it off, saying, "It was just small talk. I didn't mean anything by it." Yet, the damage was done. Stoicism teaches that our response to betrayal should be measured, guided by reason rather than emotional reaction. Instead of lashing out, Oliver chose to process what he had learned. This incident revealed a truth about Chris's character, one that would forever change their relationship. Oliver realized that Chris's actions were a reflection of his own insecurities. By gossiping, Chris sought to elevate himself at Oliver's expense, a habit more about self-aggrandizement than friendship. If you've ever experienced betrayal like Oliver did, you understand the pain of realizing someone isn't who you thought they were. Stoicism reminds us that such moments, though painful, are valuable because they clarify our path forward. Oliver resolved to protect his energy and his thoughts, choosing to keep his private matters within a circle of friends who had proven their loyalty and discretion. So, what can you do if you discover someone is gossiping about you? Start by recognizing that their actions are a statement about them, not about you. People who spread negativity are often trying to mask their own insecurities or project their frustrations. Don't let someone else's words shake your sense of self. Instead, distance yourself from those who can't honor your trust and refocus on relationships built on respect and genuine support. As Oliver learned, sometimes letting go of someone who betrays us is a necessary act of self-respect. Gossip has no place in true friendship, and removing yourself from such a relationship allows you to nurture bonds with people who uplift rather than undermine. In the end, remember this Stoic wisdom. The quality of our relationships matters more than their quantity. Seek friends who speak with integrity, who build trust rather than erode it. Each of these signs, from constant busyness to subtle digs, from exclusion to gossip, points to a reality that may be hard to face, but is ultimately liberating. Stoicism teaches us to embrace the truth, however painful, as it offers us the freedom to let go of relationships that no longer serve us. If someone repeatedly disrespects you, either subtly or openly, they're not valuing you as you deserve. Have you recognized any of these behaviors in your own relationships? Don't ignore the signs, but also don't let them breed resentment. Instead, allow these realizations to guide you toward people who respect and appreciate you. Invest your energy in relationships that elevate you, support you in challenging times, and celebrate your strengths without reservation. Remember, life is short and our time is precious. The Stoic path is one of wisdom and discernment, and true wisdom lies in surrounding ourselves with those who bring out the best in us. You deserve friends who see your value, who respect your boundaries, and who genuinely celebrate your successes. If you found this reflection valuable, please leave a comment sharing your thoughts or experiences. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with others who might benefit from understanding these subtle signs of hidden hostility. Thank you for watching, and may you continue to walk the path of wisdom, resilience, and self-respect.